How far would you go to avenge your father's murder? Would you leave behind everything you knew, the country you grew up in, the friends you played with, and the mother and sister who raised you? Would you orphan yourself just to have the chance to seek revenge? Is this truly the right choice to make? Would your father have wished for the son he loves so dearly to commit murder? Probably not, but how can you know that? How could you know what he would have wanted? You were only 6 years old when your father gave you his dagger. You were only 6 years old when he was murdered right in front of you. You were only 6 years old when you decided to follow his killer to the ends of the earth to exact revenge. The year is 987 and you live in Iceland. Growing up, you had a childhood befitting any Viking. You'd wake up early, and while your older sister scraped the snow off the roof and tended to your family's sheep, and your father forged metal at the blacksmith, you headed out to play with your friends, or rather fight with your friends. As the child of a Viking, it was never too early to learn how to survive. On the battlefield, the weak die first. The world is brutal and you can only count on yourself, but your favorite thing to do is to talk to a local explorer and merchant who tells you and the other boys stories of Vinland. It's meant to be an amazing place where the sun always shines and there is always enough food and everyone is happy. It might even be a better place than Valhalla. That's where you want to go. You want to take your family and go with the explorer to be content in Vinland. But you're only 6. You don't understand that dreams are just dreams. And in this brutal world, dreams don't come true. Your small life is shattered when a new Viking arrives, a commander, the strongest Viking in the North Sea. He's here to recruit your father to regain his honor by invading England. Before he was your father, he was a soldier, a formidable fighting Viking named the Troll of Jom. But after your older sister was born, your father deserted the army. He couldn't hide forever. He has no choice but to go with the newly arrived Viking and return to his soldier life. And you know he has no choice. Even at 6 years old, you understand this, but being with your father and fighting at his side is all you ever wanted to do. So you do the unthinkable. You stow away aboard your father's ship. Once the ship is far enough away from land, you make yourself known. Your father is disappointed, but understanding, he gives you his dagger to defend yourself if any harm heads your way. But that danger arrives all too soon. The other Vikings has betrayed your father. Thor lost his honor when he faked his death by drowning and decided to flee with your mother and sister. It doesn't matter to that Viking how strong of a fighter your father is. A deserter is still a deserter, and it's time for your father to pay. The Viking has hired a captain and his band of Viking pirates to ambush your father, and they do just that, cornering your boats in a channel between two cliffs, and there is no escape. You watch horrified as your father fights for his life, but you're proud because he fights with honor. All Vikings fight with honor, but the captain has no honor. He knows he can't win against your father. Even without having fought for years, the skills of your father is unmatched. The only way the captain can win is by taking you hostage, and then by having archers deal the killing blow. You scream and cry and struggle as you watch your beloved father get impaled by the metal arrowheads. And when the captain's men let you go, you run to your father and hug him. You're only 6. You barely make it to his knees, but your father's blood drenches you as he comforts you with his last words. A true warrior doesn't need a sword. These words have little impact on you. All you understand is that your father, a wonderful man, a man who traded away sheep to save the life of a slave a few hours ago, just before their inevitable death, has been murdered. And the captain will pay. You abandon the explorer and become a stowaway once more. This time aboard the ship of your father's murderer. And you begin your life's mission to kill the captain. But it isn't as simple as that. The captain and his pirates are brutal, and you are only a child. By setting off on this mission of vengeance, you have orphaned yourself with no way of returning to Iceland to be cared for by your mother and your sister. You have to care for yourself. It's a brutal world, and even though you follow him everywhere, you're not a pirate on the captain's crew. It's up to you to feed yourself. You spend hours in the woods scavenging for food, but in the end, it's your father's dagger that feeds feed you. One night, a wolf tries to attack you, and with the dagger as your only defense, you have no choice but to strike back. And you win your first kill. Things become easier after that. You hone your skills in the wood every day, slaughtering animals to eat and practicing your knife skills on trees. You've got your food sorted, but that's not the end of your troubles. Where the captain goes, fighting follows. In this violent society, without your father to protect you, you have no choice but to join the fighting to ensure your survival. The way you were brought up echoes in your head on the battlefield. The weak die first. But by forcing yourself to fight in raids, you improve your fighting skills so that one day you will have a chance at actually beating the captain. And he knows this. He slowly exploits you as you grow up with his crew, manipulating your lust for revenge by promising you a duel. He knows you are fueled by anger. He knows how to get what he wants under the pretense of giving you what you desire. That's why it sucks to be an orphan Viking, because there's no one there to protect you apart from yourself, and you're too young to see what the captain is doing to you. You don't even see your vulnerability, do you? Despite your hatred for him, you fall under the captain's influence. You forgot your father's words. A true warrior doesn't need a sword. You have no enemies, but you fight for everything with daggers in your hands. Without the guidance of your father and the care of your mother and sister, you cling to your hope of revenge someday, and this becomes your only purpose. With the captain guiding you, you lose your moral compass. You become hollow, violent, insane, and a killing machine. Your parents aren't a source of your values, and now the captain is your only source of identity. Murdering that man is now your personality. By the age of 12, you're a skilled child soldier, an assassin without the protection of a parent. You have been forced into an adult role before you were ready, with no choice but to obey the captain's ruthless orders. If you want a duel, then you have to kill him. He even forces you to face a giant of a Viking in London with the promise of a duel if he is defeated. The captain shows once again how he knows how to manipulate you. But even with your life on the line, in your dreams, you still see your family. That's the only place you do. You're far from your home now. But in those dreams, you see yourself at 6 years old again. You see your sister caring for the farm animals. You see your mother sickly, but trying her best. And you see your father trying to guide you. They're both waiting for you to come home. He tells you, referring to your mother and sister, you're not an orphan, but that is the path that you have chosen. Having people like that is a happy thing, your father says, and you know that he's right. But then the dream morphs into a nightmare. Suddenly, it's no longer a happy reunion. The village where you grew up is under attack, and the arrows shoot your father again. Your father is being murdered again. How can you go home when your father's killer still breathes, is what you ask yourself. Your journey with the captain forces you into the role where you have to protect the Prince of Denmark, only for the cowardly prince to take what you wanted the most in the world. He takes a sword and he stabs the captain. He takes your kill. The kill you have thirsted after 11 long years of fighting, struggling, and surviving. Gone, just like that. Your grief for your father and need for revenge were the only thing that drove you. You have no emotional support. Even the explorer who has been looking for you all this time is unable to help you when you're finally reunited. You have been shaped by your grief and bloodlust into a human being seemingly only capable of rage, despair, and numbness. But the death of the captain at someone else's hands completely breaks you. You truly have nothing left. The captain died in your arms, rather than by your hands, rather than by your father's dagger. Your whole reason for being is gone. All these years working with the man who killed your father for nothing. What do you do now? That's your real fight. To find your true purpose, to become a true warrior. You had chosen revenge, and to the mind of a 6-year-old boy who loved and adored and admired his father, that was the right decision for you to make. But now it's time for you to move on. Now it's time to find yourself. What's important for a warrior is where their soul is. Your life as an orphan Viking sucked. No one cared about you if you couldn't kill people. No one tended to your wound. No one helped to feed you. you. But even though you weren't ready for it to be over, it is. It's over now. You have the chance to find who you are. You were never truly alone at all. You chose to be. It's okay for you to go home, to reunite with your mother and sister, and to honor the legacy of your father by creating your own Vinland. But that's not what you chose. A true warrior doesn't need a sword. A true warrior has no enemies. And as you realize that it's time for you to understand what this truly means, maybe that'll fix a crooked picture.